A facelift used to be something you got at 60, maybe 50 if you had the money and the courage. Now, women are going under the knife at 24. Not fillers, not Botox. A full surgical facelift, incisions, pulling, stapling at 24 years old. And it's not just one woman. Surgeons say their waiting rooms are filling up with patients in their 20s and 30s asking for procedures that didn't even exist for that age group a decade ago. So what is actually going on? Let's get into it.
A lot of you guys wanted to know why I got a facelift so young, so I'm gonna explain to you guys the backstory. So last year I traveled to Korea and I got bone shaving, which is basically when they shave down your bone and your face kind of has like a smaller like beeline shape. It's a really common surgery in Korea, not so much like in the States. So when I got the surgery, I didn't know that my skin might not snap back into place. And after talking to people who got the surgery done, they told me that this is really common. So that's basically what happened to me. I had a lot of loose skin like on my like nasal folds and on my neck. And the reason that I decided to come to Turkey is because I wanted a brow lift just because for aesthetic reasons. And I like the way that they do mid facelift. So okay, so right now I'm gonna take my medicines. This one is for swelling. I'm gonna have to take one. My vitamin B. And this one I have to take one every 12 hours. It smells really bad. Ugh. It tastes so bad. Now I'm taking my antibiotic. And this is one. The pill is huge. Whew. I'm not gonna take the painkiller because I really don't feel that much pain right now, but I do have to apply these drops to my eyes. I literally can barely open my eyes right now, and I apply these 4 times a day. So this is my second time. Last thing I'm gonna do is apply some arnica cream to my face. So put this all over here to help me with my swelling.
My eyes have been bothering me since the moment I got out of surgery. I did not anticipate on having eye issues with a facelift or mid facelift. First, it was this eye that was tripping. Now this one, weeks later, is tripping and it is so irritating. It just feels like something is always in my eye and I just keep rubbing it. So it doesn't hurt, it's not red, it's just more so irritating. I am about to eat these pineapples, I guess to help with swelling. And I have this, and some arnica. Hopefully this kind of helps with the swelling. Honestly, the swelling is not the part that's bothersome. It's more so of the eye issue. I anticipated on being swollen. I had surgery, that's normal. This is the only tricky part about having surgery out of the country, because you cannot go back to your surgeon and let him see what's going on. You have to go to a doctor here and explain what you did, and sometimes it's low-key embarrassing because they're like, why did you go there? But I do have intentions on going to the doctor just for them to check my eyes so that I can make sure like nothing is wrong. But hopefully everything will fix on its own, because having eye irritation problems is the most annoying thing ever. It is super annoying.
Okay, so this is week 4. My eyes are opening up more and more, they're settling more and more. But I want you guys to remember, I got the fox eye with a temporal lift, with a forehead reduction, which also brought it up, and I got a mid facelift. Like, I'm no expert on all of these things, but with all of these things freshly pulling up, yes, it made my face look pretty crazy, and it's still settling now. Like, I at least have to give it at least 2 to 4 more weeks, and then you can really kind of start to see what the results are going to look like. But even then, I still kind of have to wait around the 3 to 6, even like the 12-month mark to see final results. I am still healing this. I can still feel like all swollen, as you can see. Like, even my eyes are still quite swollen. But it's also coming down really well, and has come down really well since. Also, I can't wait for my hair to start growing back, and my hair really thinned around the incision line. But Honestly, I think it's gonna look amazing.
What are some of the repercussions of getting a facelift too young?
The more facelifts that you have, right, the more that the skin is being lifted up and being put down, the more random the blood supply is to the skin. And so unless the surgeon is doing a good surgery, right, you're risking skin death later if you're having multiple surgeries. Every subsequent surgery has to deal with scar tissue. And so if the surgeon was messy and didn't divide the layers in the way that they want to come apart, then when you have a subsequent surgery, it's more difficult to navigate and puts you at more risk in terms of complications like nerve injury, or just like not getting a great lift, because every single time you disrupt the layer that is like the muscle layer, the husk that goes around the muscle layer, it can get thin if you don't, treat it well. Right? But if they didn't, and you go back in and it gets thinner and thinner, it's almost like tissue paper. It will just you can't get a lift later.
You have to be very careful when following beauty trends. Beauty is in a state of flux. What might be sort of a good look, a trend today, may not be tomorrow. But surgery is permanent and it's irreversible.
So what we just saw was how this whole thing started. For one woman, one surgery led to another, and she ended up at 24 recovering from a facelift in a foreign country. The internet had a lot to say about it, and most of it wasn't pleasant. Let's watch.
And when people say, oh, your daughter is 14 and she don't have a phone, I now know why. Because yes, that girl is 24 years old and she got a facelift. And prior to getting facelift, she got bone shaving. And part of the problem is we stopped letting them, they don't play with dolls anymore. They're younger and younger and they're not playing with dolls. And they think that they're the dolls and they think that they are customizable. And they see, and I saw her video, and the issue that I had with her video is you want to go where they can customize it and make you the look that you want. And it's like, yeah, that's cool and all when you're talking about surgery, but that's a facelift. Nobody is 35 years old, 45 even, getting a facelift.
That 24-year-old that literally got that facelift surgery is sad as fuck to me. But still not as sad as the other women that also got facelifts that are telling her good for you, girl. I saw a woman who got a facelift at 21 years old. That's how old I am. That's crazy to me. She didn't even wait for gravity to take a toll yet. Her face isn't drooping and she already got a whole facelift. I don't care what anyone says, only insecure girls get surgery. If you truly loved yourself the way that you say you do, you wouldn't have gotten surgery at all. You wouldn't have gotten any work done. Like me, I love myself. When I look in the mirror, I am borderline obsessed with myself. As I'm walking past, my reflection stop to look at myself type obsessed. And I would never ever, I've never thought about getting surgery. I've never ever thought about getting my face lifted or getting my jaw done or my lips done or my hips done. I can't relate to that at all. Only insecure women do that type of shit. I'm not losing any sleep over this. It's her face, so she can do whatever she wants. And that goes for anybody, honestly. If you want to get surgery, you can get surgery. I'm just saying, I think that's insanely sad that in this day and age that you got 24-year-old women literally looking themselves in the mirror and hating what they see to the point to where they're literally saving up money and spending thousands of dollars on surgery to fix nothing. Nothing is broken, babe. What are you doing? I just hope at the end of the day that everybody can love themselves the way that I do. Because like I said, I just think that's really sad. That's really, really sad for you to be insecure to that point where you're literally getting surgery at 24 years old. A facelift at 24, crazy.
In order to age gracefully, you got to be comfortable with yourself aging. I heard about this young woman the other day who got a facelift at the young age of 24. 24, you see Kylie Jenner face falling apart like old mashed potatoes. You gotta let yourself just be your age. And these young men going to Turkey for new hairlines. This is the hairline of a man. Okay, down here was I don't date single mothers. Up here is two-step kids isn't a lot. Okay, because I don't respect old people with the full head of hair and afros. You think I go to work and be like, hey, you got to do something with a full head of hair? No, they'd be like, shut the hell up, Frederick Douglass. You got to love the grays, man.
A facelift at 24 is crazy. You don't even have your full face yet. You don't have your fully grown adult face yet. If your brain doesn't stop developing until 25, what makes you think that your face won't? This generation truly is cooked because no one is allowed to have an awkward face. No one is allowed to, I don't know, have fat in their cheeks and elasticity and oiliness and pimples and none of this shit. They want everything right now. And I think that also has to do with like that age group not really having like a teen space, because like us growing up, you know, we had like Disney Channel, and then we went until like Nick at Night, the N. We're watching Degrassi. We are seeing like Lizzie McGuire, where like while it is like, you know, as a child, but you can watch this shit as a teen. We also had 106 in Park. We had teen clubs. Unfortunately, I was never allowed to go. Nigerian. And Teen Vogue, Girl Magazine, Teen People. Bitch, do y'all remember Teen People? Teen People magazine was that shit. Like, anyway, we'll talk about that later. But I think it is just very tragic that a girl at 24 years old, I'm talking about like, that is the age that you're maybe like a year or two out of college, or you're still in college, and you have to get a facelift. I want to know the name of the doctor that approved her getting a facelift at 24. Because at this point, while I guess legally she's an adult, I just feel like the ethics is a little gray. Because what adults, what grown doctor, especially a woman, I bet it wasn't a woman either, is going to look at a 24-year-old girl talking about, oh, I just need to, you know, just hike everything up and do all this stuff. Girl! And like, I think, you know, not being able to have that like awkward phase of where, you know, you had, cause like those of us millennials, we got them fucking pictures that we had to print out at the Walgreens where hair was a mess, outfit was a mess. We had that kind of awkward teen body. You know, not everybody was an IG baddie. Not everyone had Shein. We didn't have Shein back in my day. And I was fat. So we didn't have Shein, bitch. We had Lane Bryant. We had Avenue. We had Walmart. I was looking like a substitute teacher, like 18. Anyway, I think it's just really tragic that this generation is not allowed to like be awkward, or like people are now not even telling you no. Like I feel like if you went back in the day and you tried to go to a doctor at 24 and said, I want a facelift, they're gonna say, girl, get the fuck out of my office. We need more medical professionals to say no. While I guess technically you can't necessarily sue them, she signed a consent waiver and whatnot. I haven't seen her before, you know, I hadn't seen her actual face before the facelift, but I know for a fact that it wasn't nothing bad. You're still 24, your skin has elasticity. Facelifts are for those in like approaching senior citizen, when, you know, the cells in your skin start to slow down and, you know, things start to droop and they don't really regenerate and like tighten back up. But now everyone's getting facelifts. Y'all are getting Botox. Y'all are getting Botox, facelift. You're trying to get retinol. You should not touch retinol until you're 30. I didn't touch retinol until I was 30. Look at me in this damn pimple. Anyway, I had a dermatologist and I was on medication for my pimples, but I'm not over there like, if I can imagine me at 23, 24, thinking about what my mindset was like, what my confidence was like. If I were to go to a doctor and they were to approve that shit, I would come out botched. Like, because it's like once you start going under like plastic surgery, especially when it has to do with the face, you're gonna keep finding things. All of a sudden it's, oh, you know what, my under eye, oh, you know what, well, this crow's feet, oh, you know, this and this and this, and oh, my neck, and then you're too young. You do not need a facelift. You need a therapist. You need a mental health professional. I understand body dysmorphia and all that stuff, because to this day I still experience it with my body. But going under the knife at 24, literally has scars all up and through here just to pull it up and staple it. That's insane. That is insane. And shame on the doctor that approved that shit.
It's hard arguing with people where you know that in school, when you were getting tested for listening comprehension, you was at the bottom of the group. It's hard arguing with people like that, because nowhere in my video did I say she looked wrong. Nowhere in my video can I actually affect her life and change what she chooses to do with her body, or say that she shouldn't have autonomy over her body, or that young women in general shouldn't have autonomy over their bodies when it comes to plastic surgery. I never said to ban plastic surgery. I never said I was against plastic surgery in general. That's not what the fuck I said. I also never went in on her looks. I did not say she looked bad. I did not say, what? Y'all just making shit up. Sorry, I don't just abide by the ultimate form of choice feminism, where it's as long as a woman's choosing to do it, it's fine. That's great. I believe in choice, but I also know that we live in a world where there's extreme influences and there are billion-dollar industries preying on women's insecurities and manufacturing them. That was the point of my video. That we quite literally live in a world where doctors are fine profiting off of all this extreme shit. And yes, it is extreme. And yes, I do know that fillers and Botox are technically not plastic surgery. It's a procedure. This is completely different. Okay, yes, there's a difference between getting a vial of whatever in your face versus someone cutting you open. I'm not disputing that. I know why people prefer injectables, that they are non-invasive. I'm not saying that anything's technically dangerous. That's not what I'm doing. What I'm saying is that it definitely is concerning that we live in a culture that consistently advertises to younger and younger women that there's a problem with the way they look, there's a problem with their body, that aging is the devil, and therefore the solution to that is not acceptance of yourself, it is to go and get a procedure, or to get filler or an injection or something like that done. Who does that benefit generally? Because a lot of people do regret plastic surgery. 1 in 5 end up regretting it. So, regret it or not, that doctor still got that money. And furthermore, I don't think a lot of people realize that some of these things end up being a trap. Not just for younger women, but for older women too, where people constantly talk about fillers and Botox until you get pillow face, so then you have to do it other places, and then eventually you need a facelift. And it's I'm not trying to be extremely conspiratorial, but that doesn't seem like an interesting plan. Anyways, no, I'm not an ugly bitch. No, I'm not fucking jealous. Why would I want to get a fucking facelift? I'm in my 20s. I don't need a goddamn facelift. Can we be real? Yes, you can do whatever you want with your body, but I think that the general system is weird. Sorry that it took y'all so long to get that. I don't know, learn to listen. Think, open your mind up.
Strong reactions, and honestly, pretty expected ones. But not everyone saw it that way. Some people came to her defense, and their argument is worth hearing.
A 24-year-old young lady that just got a facelift, she got me conflicted. I remember I was conflicted, right? Because on one hand, I'm no, baby, you ain't got to do all that now. But then on the other hand, I'm shit, if that's what you want to do, go on and do it. That's what free will is for. You know what I'm saying? We gotta stop saying that people who go get plastic surgery or cosmetic surgery that they don't love themselves. That's just not true, bro. Because I love me. But if not for my old lady rubbing this bald head at night and being adamant that she love it, I'd have been got my hairline put back on. I'd have been got me a new frontal closure, a new closure. You know what I'm saying? Plus also, sometimes folks be needing a little alteration. I remember I had a coworker. She was telling me about how she got a nose job when she was younger. I was oh, okay, it looks good or whatever. She said, you want to see the before? She showed me that before picture with a hook on that motherfucker. I said, I understand. So, hey, just let folks do what they want to do, bro. At the end of the day, it don't affect you.
This is a message for the girl who got facelift at 28. She's called Antonia. Please, I'm begging you, for your own mental health, ignore the trolls in your comments saying that it looks bad. Objectively, and I do not BS, I have built a reputation on this app for being honest, brutal, direct, and truthful. It looks good. The problem people have with you is that you're 28 and you've gone and got a facelift, okay? I get it. It sounds shocking. But the same people are going to go and like Kylie Jenner's pictures, Kim Kardashian's pictures, Khloe Kardashian's pictures, all of those celebrities that all got way more work done to their faces and bodies than you ever have combined. Girl, please, just ignore them. And for the people saying it looks bad, it's not even been 1 month of healing. Do you understand that surgery, especially facial surgery, takes around a year to fully settle and fully heal? You look great, girl. They're just jealous. They don't have the money. They don't have the vision. And they don't have the ability to support someone that isn't a celebrity in the journey that they're going on to reinvent themselves and perfect what they look like. So ignore.
So the defense came down to it's her body, her choice, and the people criticizing her are the same as double tapping Kylie Jenner's photos without a second thought. Speaking of Kylie, her name has always been mentioned when people speculate whether she'd had some work done.
It's my belief, based on this photograph, that Kylie Jenner has had a facelift at the age of 27. Why do I think that? I'm a plastic surgery enthusiast, and once you know the signs of facelift, you can't unsee them. This pixie ear right here, and I don't know if you can see the pull here, those are the telltale signs of a facelift. We saw in 2020 that Kylie was looking very full in the face. Her filler practitioner had allowed her to be overfilled. Fast forward a few years, at the top of 2024, we saw that much of this facial filler had been dissolved. How did we see that? Well, we can see from the emptiness, the tear trough area, and just a general deflation on the Kardashian just after that Paris appearance. She said she was going on a filler removal journey. Now, people laughed at her and said there's still filler in her face. The only filler that was really there was in her lips. At the time, I wondered why she'd done such a comprehensive dissolution of the filler, but now it makes sense. She was preparing for a facelift, and it's often best to dissolve filler before a lift. In my opinion, it would have been done between this appearance in Paris and the Met Gala in May, where you see she looked very snatched. I thought it was a lift then, but I wanted to wait until there was at least some evidence, and there it is. Why does this matter? Kardashian Jenners have inadvertently, perhaps, but they have glamorized the use of filler. Now we're seeing the consequence of overfilling one's face, and it's important for the public to know that if you overfill your face, dissolving the filler has consequences. Kylie clearly has the resources to make radical interventions to correct the mistake of overfilling, but many of us don't, so we just need to be mindful. I feel like filler is sold as a less invasive way of changing your face, and to some degree it is, but it also has lasting effects which can require costly interventions to regain the face you would have had if you just left it alone in the first place or done less filler.
Whether or not Kylie actually got a facelift, the bigger point being made is hard to ignore. A family that normalized fillers for an entire generation may now be quietly dealing with the consequences, and the doctors, they've been watching all of this happen in real time. Let's hear what they're saying.
What is the most common age, or general, what is the best age for facelift? It's changed throughout the years. When I first started practice about 25 years ago, basically every patient was in their 60s and they actually needed it. Then, maybe 10 years into that, we started going into the 50s when they just started to age. You saw a little bit more, maybe mild to moderate changes in the jowling, the neck, fallen cheeks, the smile lines, the marionette lines. Then, in the last maybe 10 to 12 years, we started doing some lifts actually in the 40s, when they just started to get some sagging a little bit, and they did not want a big significant change. They just want to always look good, basically never aging. So we have performed mini lifts, short scar, deep plane facelifts, and neck lifts in patients in their 40s. Have I ever done someone in their late 30s? I think I've done one person at premature aging around 39 years of age, but usually that's pretty young.
What is the best age to get a facelift?
I would say somewhere in your 40s or 50s. Why?
Here's my honest opinion on 40-year-olds getting facelifts. I think it's nuts. I really do. When you're 40, you're beautiful. Don't you understand? You're beautiful. You're going to age. Your skin is like a car. The moment you buy a new car and you pull out of that lot, it starts to depreciate, and that's what happens with your skin. It has a certain age. There's intrinsic aging. It happens to all of us. So focus on things like having beautiful skin, because you're not going to be able, no matter how many radio frequency microneedling and all that jazz that you do, you're not going to be able to stop the process entirely. Keep your skin healthy, beautiful, and clear, and you will be happy. And at some point later on, you may decide you just don't like looking at that face in the mirror and you want to do something, and that's up to you. But when you're 40, please, it's too early to be doing it. That's just my opinion, and obviously you can see that I'm way over 40 and I haven't bitten the bullet yet. My opinion, Take it or leave it.
Even the surgeons are confirming it. The average age keeps dropping. What was once a procedure for people in their 60s is now being requested by people decades younger. And as we saw today, younger still. Alright, let's actually talk about what's happening here, because there are several layers to this and they're all worth unpacking properly. Let's start with the basic medical reality, because this is where the conversation should begin and rarely does. A facelift is a procedure designed to address what happens when skin loses its elasticity, fat redistributes, and the structural tissues of the face begin to descend with age. That process, the biological process that facelifts are built to correct, does not meaningfully happen in your 20s. Your skin in your 20s still has collagen. It still has elasticity. It still does what skin is supposed to do. There is no drooping to lift, no significant volume loss to address, no structural descent that requires surgical intervention. Surgeons who have been in practice for decades will tell you the same thing. Facelifts made sense in the 60s because that is when the face has genuinely aged to a point where surgery is the only tool that can produce real change. Doing it earlier and earlier doesn't mean better results. It means doing a procedure on tissue that didn't need it yet, and creating a surgical history on a face that still had decades of natural aging ahead of it. And here's the part that doesn't get said enough. Every facelift makes the next one harder. Scar tissue builds up. Blood supply to the skin becomes less predictable. The structural layer that surgeons need to work with gets thinner and more fragile with each procedure. A woman who gets a facelift at 24 is almost certainly going to want or need another one by her late 30s or 40s, and that surgery will be significantly more complicated, riskier, and more expensive because of the first one. The surgeon performing it will be navigating scar tissue, compromised tissue layer, and a face that has been structurally altered multiple times. Getting it early does not give you a head start. It starts a clock. 25 years ago, the average facelift patient was in their 60s and genuinely needed the procedure. Then it shifted to the 50s, then the 40s. Now surgeons are performing them on people in their 30s and increasingly their 20s. And the question nobody seems to be asking loudly enough is why? Faces have not changed. The biology of aging has not changed. What has changed is the culture surrounding women's appearance and the industry that profits from it. And this didn't happen organically. It was driven. Cosmetic procedures got rebranded from something you did when you were old into something you did to stay ahead of aging. The language shifted. Preventative treatments, rejuvenation, getting ahead of it before it starts. What that framing does is reposition a completely normal human face as a problem that needs managing. It tells women that the time to intervene is not when aging has visibly occurred, but before it does. And once you accept that logic, there is no lower limit. If 40 is better than 60 and 30 is better than 40, why not 24? Why not 20? The industry has no incentive to draw that line, because every person convinced to come in earlier is a paying patient they wouldn't otherwise have had. Women have always faced pressure around their appearance, and that is not new. What is new is the scale, the precision, and the relentlessness of how that pressure is now delivered. Social media platforms run on engagement, and the content that drives the most engagement is content that makes people feel like they are lacking something. Filters that smooth skin and lift features in real time. Algorithms that serve you an endless stream of women with faces that have been professionally lit, heavily edited, and in many cases surgically altered, presented as if that is simply what women look like. Beauty trends that shift fast enough that what was desirable 6 months ago looks dated today. Young women are growing up in an environment where they have never consistently seen an unaltered face presented as aspirational. They have never had the chance to develop a realistic baseline for what normal looks like, because normal has been systematically removed from their feeds and replaced with an idealized version that is, for most people, physically unachievable without surgical intervention. And then, conveniently, the solution to the gap between what they see and what they look like is being sold to them through the same platforms creating the gap in the first place. And that is not accidental. Cosmetic clinics run targeted ads on Instagram and TikTok. Influencers are paid to document their procedures in ways that make surgery look effortless, glamorous, and aspirational. Consultations are marketed as empowering. The entire pipeline, from the insecurity to the booking, is carefully constructed and commercially driven. The girl who ends up on a table at 24 didn't arrive there randomly. She was guided there, step by step, by an industry that identified her insecurity, amplified it, and offered her a paid solution. This generation has never been allowed to be awkward. Previous generations had a private awkward face, and flattering ears were lived and forgotten without documentation. You got to grow into your face without an audience. That doesn't exist anymore. Everything is filmed, filtered, posted, and permanently archived from the time you're 12 years old. Every unflattering angle is a potential comment section. Every insecurity gets reflected back at you through an algorithm that is quite literally designed to keep you feeling like you're not enough. Because dissatisfied users scroll longer and engage more. The platforms profits from insecurity. The aesthetic industry profits from insecurity, and young women are sitting at the center of it all, being told from every direction that there is something to fix. And it would be impossible to talk about this topic honestly without addressing the role certain celebrities have played in normalizing cosmetic procedures for young women. Kylie Jenner began visibly altering her appearance in her mid-teens. When she eventually disclosed her lip fillers, it was framed as a revelation, but by that point, millions of young girls had already watched her transformation unfold in real time and absorbed a very specific message that your natural face is optional, that with the right clinic and enough money, you can simply choose what you look like. Fillers were the entry point. They were positioned as non-invasive, subtle, and reversible, the gateway procedure. What wasn't communicated, not by celebrities, not by clinics, not by the platforms hosting all of this content, is that filler is not as reversible as advertised. Years of filler sitting in facial tissue migrates, alters the structure underneath, and creates a very different problem than the one it was brought in to solve. Dissolving it is its own process with its own consequences, and for those who overfilled over years, the downstream correction can require a very surgical intervention, a facelift, that fillers were supposed to be the alternative to. Most people do not have the resources to manage those consequences. They were sold the entry-level product without being told where the road led, and the clinics that sold it to them faced no accountability for that because consent was signed and money changed hands, and the patient's regrets, if they came later. One question that sits underneath all of this and almost never gets answered is, who is approving these procedures? Because a cosmetic surgeon is not just a technician executing a request. They are a medical profession with a duty of care, and part of that duty should include honestly assessing whether a patient is a good candidate, not just physically, but psychologically and in terms of long-term outcomes. A 24-year-old requesting a facelift on a face that has not aged is not a good candidate by any reasonable medical standard. The long-term complications are predictable, and yet surgeons are performing them. Why? Because the system does not require them to say so. There is no government body that pulls a surgeon's license from operating on someone too young. There is no mandatory psychological evaluation before elective cosmetic procedures. Consent is obtained, payment is processed, and the surgery happens. The surgeon's financial incentive runs entirely in one direction, toward doing the procedure. Their income is not tied to whether the patient is happy 5 years from now. It is tied to whether the patient books today. 1 in 5 people who get cosmetic surgery regret it. That is not a small number. That is a significant portion of patients dealing with permanent changes to their faces that they wish they hadn't made. At its core, this is about a culture that has decided aging is a failure, not a natural process, not something that happens to every human being on earth without exception, but a problem, a visible sign that you have not been vigilant enough, spent enough money, or taken enough action to prevent something that was always going to happen regardless. That framing benefits one group of people, and it is not women. It is the industry selling the solution. Skincare companies, cosmetic clinics, injectable providers, surgical practices, they all profit from the belief that an aging face is an unacceptable face. And the earlier they can install that belief in a woman, the longer she is a paying customer. Young women deserve to know that the pressure they are feeling is not coming from inside themselves. It was put there deliberately by people who make money when they act on it. A 24-year-old face is not a problem. It is not something that needs lifting or correcting or getting ahead of, and any doctor, clinic, or platform telling them otherwise is not doing them a service. They are running a business.
So people often want to know, what are the risks for a facelift surgery? So the most common complications from facelift surgery is some healing problems in the back of the ear, which you never see afterwards because it's behind the ear. That's literally the most common complication that we see. One of the most dangerous complications, which luckily we see very rarely, is it can affect your facial nerves. So there is a nerve that comes through the parotid gland here underneath that affects the movement of your face. The most likely nerve to be damaged during the surgery is one that we can't really see but can be inadvertently cut during the surgery, and that's the marginal mandibular branch of the facial nerve. So it's basically a little branch of nerve that comes here and it moves the corner of the lip. This is one of those situations where God is great because the nerve will come back to life. It takes about 3 months, and during that time what we'll do is just paralyze the other side with Botox, which also happens to last about 3 months, and so it does eventually correct itself and is not a very stressful complication, but that is the most likely complications of facelift surgery.
If you made it this far, I appreciate you watching. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. Creators' handles are in the description box below. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.